Hello everyone, I am the Wastelander, and in today's video we're going to go check out some of the freakiest places in Fallout 4. This is the third video in this series. I've already covered some of the freaky places in Fallout 3 and New Vegas, so feel free to check those out if they're of interest to you. Now, how I define freaky when it comes to these locations is if they're eerie, liminal, or just creepy in general. So nothing too specific, just more of a general vibe to them. And since it's now October, I felt like it was a good time of year to make a video like this on Fallout 4. So let's go ahead and head to our first spot. And don't mind all those fence posts over there. Now, our first location is kind of a classic, probably one of the first places you think of when you think of spooky places in Fallout 4. But I wanted to go there and get a certain weapon, as we'll need something decent for this playthrough. Some of the areas we're going to go to later on in this video, I'd say have a little bit higher of a level cap to them. And what I mean by that is you don't really want to walk in there level 1. I like how you can find these faces in random places around... Excuse me, as I was saying. I like how you can find these faces around Fallout 3 and Fallout 4. They feel really out of place, but they're pretty cool. Gotta clear out a few raiders here. Did a melee build, and those are always fun. Melee in this game is kind of overpowered. Especially with the sneak damage and the blitz perk, forget about it. And we pull up to Pickman's gallery, and we can overhear these raiders talking about some guy named Pickman. And we can see kind of a freaky picture over there. We'll go take a closer look. Now that all the raiders are gone, we can really look around. We can see someone's hand in this display case, and some really disturbing pictures on the wall. I mean, they're out there. We'll come back to that one later. Something about the eyes in these pictures are really freaky. Looks like a ghoul. And all the eyes. Yeah, it's quite an art collection. We can see in the middle, past all this fog, there's just a lot of dismembered heads. Pretty unsettling. In the next room, we can find a raider with Pickman's calling card. Let's check that out. It just says, Pickman was here. Find me if you dare. With a heart, probably drawn with blood. On the second floor, we can find this raider handcuffed to a bed. And another one who looks like they got operated on. And this pumpkin here with a tibia next to it. And then we see a hole in the wall. And then we find another really disturbing painting here. So of course this guy has been making all these paintings using blood. And there's the source right there. And they all seem to be raiders. Moving along down this tunnel. Oh no. We find some cigarettes. Look how bloody my sword is. I feel like the bad guy here. Hey guys. And we can finally talk to the man himself.
Those people deserved worse than death.
And we find the lockpicking bobblehead. And going back inside his gallery, we can head over to this painting, Picnic for Stanley, and move it to find a safe, where we find Pickman's blade, which makes a target bleed for 25 points of additional damage. And a note, which just says, thanks, killer, and with another heart painted with blood. Now, Pickman's gallery is a pretty freaky place. What was going on here is Pickman has been taking out these different raiders, using their blood for his artwork. The raider boss that we saw in the tunnels down there had sent his guys here to take care of Pickman, and we happened along just in time to save him. So now he can continue with his twisted works and get rid of some of the raiders in the Commonwealth. I think the freakiest part of this place, for me, is definitely his artwork. I like this one. And with that, we can go ahead and head on to our next location. I feel like the vibe of Fallout 4, especially by the water, is kind of eerie. It also helps that Fallout 4 has some different weather patterns. Really adds to the atmosphere here. Like I've said before, I feel like the older Fallout games are just more creepy in general. Because they're older games, they're just a little darker. And this game definitely isn't new. Kind of blows my mind that Fallout 4 has been out for about 10 years now. And here we are, the Museum of Witchcraft. And of course, we can't go through the front door, so we have to go through the basement. And we can hear something moving above us, but we don't know what it is. And we see something drag a body away, so that's cool. The sound effects down here, pretty creepy as well. The mannequins in this game are really creepy. So at this point we're asking ourselves, what's upstairs? And we can turn the corner. And accidentally fall back downstairs. I imagine this is laid out as a scene from the witch trials, where that is the witch, maybe being burned at the stake. Could be, but we should probably focus on whatever's wandering around up here. There it is. It's a savage deathclaw. He's gonna kill me. Run back in here. Can't even get a hit in. There's one. Broke my arm. Can you block their hits with a knife? Dude, we cheesed this so bad. He got stuck in the door. What an idiot. It worked out okay. I really didn't think we could take him just with a knife. We also find this scene of a mannequin getting hung, which is pretty unsettling. The fact that this place is themed around the witch trials is already a pretty eerie setup. We also find some dead gunners over here, and some cracked deathclaw eggs, which has a quest around them, which I'm not too worried about in this video. We're more just focusing on this location, and it's definitely a notable one. I remember being caught pretty off guard when I came here the first time, but I think this being a mix of the Salem witch trials, plus there being a deathclaw here, makes it a pretty freaky location. Now let's head out to our next spot. Now our next location is seemingly just a regular sewer, but once we head inside, we can find a pretty dark story. We turn the first corner to find a skeleton hung up on the wall, and a holotape.
Here we are, detective. If you followed my instructions, you're alone. And well, if you aren't, I've already left. You better be alone. Well, come on in. I've put my work on display down here, and I'd very much like you to see it.
And his work, very similar to Pickman, is using humans for his sculptures. Specifically, their skeletons. Where Pickman used blood for his paintings, the Fen's Phantom used skeletons for his sculptures. I won't play all the holotapes, but I just wanted to give you an idea of what was going on here. Essentially, the Fen's Phantom was luring the detective down here to see his art and try to get him alone, with no backup. This right here is probably one of the more disturbing scenes. We can see all the baby strollers with the moms to match. Truly some dark environmental storytelling. From the X, we can also tell how many people were taken out for each one of these displays. Once again, another freaky place with a lot of mannequins. It just goes hand in hand. We have another one here. And that's pretty much the story of the Fen Street Sewer. Just some really disturbed guy making sculptures out of human remains. And I know I've said it before, but I just love in Fallout games how somewhere that's just seemingly so normal can hold a really dark story within. And I think this location is a great example of that. But with that, we can go ahead and head to our next location. I'm really a huge fan of Fallout 4's open world, except when you run across guys like that. Just gonna sprint by. And no lie, I used to sink so many hours into the settlements in this game, especially when I figured out all you had to do to decrease the settlement build limit was to scrap guns. From there, I could really just build whatever I wanted, and that was always a good time. And no lie, about half of the DLCs for this game are total trash, but it did allow me to build my own arena, and that was fun. And here we are. It's actually a really cool scene right here. This being out kind of in the marsh and the swamp, and it raining and being at nighttime. It's a perfect setup. And we can see a couple ghouls. Surprisingly, aren't running at me. We're not going to go that way when we leave. There's a behemoth over there. We have arrived at Suffolk County Charter School. We can see that ghoul there looks a little pink, and we can go inside to find out why. I think any abandoned school is pretty creepy, but these pink ghouls make it kind of odd. But why are they pink? Well, we just happened to stumble into the cafeteria where we can find out why.
Good morning, teachers and students. It is a fabulous Wednesday here at Suffolk County Charter School. The Glee Club is having their seasonal bake sale today. So stop by and show your support so we can send our team to the regionals. Remember, actual baked goods are forbidden on school grounds, so they will be selling colorful cups for your food paste.
So, as it was alluded to in that holotape, there was no outside food allowed at this school. Instead, the students were made to eat this pink paste, which was pumped out of these pipes here. And it looks like it was fed into those pipes back here, which is just really disgusting, being poured out of these metal buckets into some machine. And a couple hundred years later, we could see the results in these pink ghouls. It's just a strange little location that I wanted to stop by real quick. Now let's head out of here and go to the next location. And our next location is Dunwich Borers, this old quarry, which is now taken over by raiders. And running past all of them, we can head inside. And heading through the tunnels, we're greeted to a couple more raiders. Why does he have a large baby bottle? Whoa, that was crazy. Hit me right in the head with it. And as we clear out the rest of the raiders, we can head to the more creepy side of this quarry. We find a couple ghouls, with more to come, of course. But it gets noticeably way darker down here. Let's hit this switch. I feel like the ghouls in Fallout 4 just aren't as creepy as the ones in 3 in New Vegas. I feel like I like the way they move better in Fallout 4 though. Quite a sequence there. So this place, Dunwich Borers, is the same company as the ones in the Dunwich building in Fallout 3. Now, there's some really shady and dark stuff going on with the company, and it kind of relates to some H.P. Lovecraft, cosmic horror, and it's kind of a running theme in several Fallout games. And another bobblehead. And there's been really great videos made on the Dunwich company and their lore, so I won't get into it too deep. But between the flashbacks, which we're about to see the last one here, just like the ones in Fallout 3, are pretty unsettling and catch you off guard. And the entire time we're down here, there's just this shaking, like something else is still being constructed or destroyed. And let's see the final sequence here. Getting rid of all these named ghouls, we find a holotape.
Tim, good job on keeping things under wraps. We've taken your advice and have asked the other project managers to meet you at Station 4. Stall them if they arrive before we get there. They haven't been told anything. We are very close to accomplishing our goal. Please be patient. You will be rewarded in time.
Very vague message there. So going back to what we just saw, there seemed to be a ritual held here way back in the day that we see a flashback to, and now it's just a pit at the bottom of this quarry. Let's dive in there. We find probably the coolest looking bladed weapon in this game, and a couple mini nukes. Now let's get out of here before we drown. And that pretty much wraps up Dunwich Borers. We just have to find our way out. This location is really freaky and has some deeper lore than some of the other ones that we've explored, and the fact that it follows up on some Fallout 3 lore is really great as well. And with that, let's go ahead and head out of here. And out of the map as well. We're now heading to a DLC location. And now we can head to definitely the best DLC in this game. Maybe the best objective DLC in all the Fallout games. The difference in quality of the DLCs in this game are just absolutely mind-blowing. It's astonishing. You have ones like Point Lookout, which of course is the one we're heading to. That's just excellent. Then you have all the settlement ones. Like, why make those a DLC? Should have just added them to the game in the first place. I think anytime we get a map expansion DLC, it's usually one of the best ones. I think it's worth mentioning, Far Harbor and Point Lookout are nearly identical. At least they went back to what worked. Just the vibe of this island is so cool. So gray, and the fog looks so good. Now, our next location is literally just Far Harbor itself. I really like the feel of this settlement. It feels so isolated. It's literally just at the end of this pier, and outside it's surrounded by these fog condensers, which keep the radioactive fog at bay. And then outside you can see the rest of the town, abandoned and decaying. And then at the end of the pier, it looks like it just drops off. All we can see is the fog and the ocean, a couple ships in the distance. Like I said, I think what works so well here is the isolation. It really makes our time here feel just so temporary. These are the only people left, outside of the Synths and the Children of Adam on the island. This is the only regular settlement. And I think that isolation works so well in this case. I think being stranded is a really big part in kind of the fear that a place like this would have to it. But yeah, I really like this location. It's kind of cozy almost, but really makes you realize just how alone these folks are out here by themselves. And with that, we can go wander out into the fog. Now, this next location really isn't a specific spot in Far Harbor, It's almost every location that isn't a set location. Just walking through this fog, not being able to see too far in front of us, it's really eerie. There's all kinds of creatures lurking just outside of where we can see. And also the fact that we're just constantly taking on radiation makes it a pretty difficult place to be. I really didn't mean to rhyme right there. Much like I said in Point Lookout in Fallout 3, there's not really a set spot. It's just kind of the vibe of the entire DLC. Just this location is so great. Just looking off this cliff, how we can barely see anything, just the top of some trees and some buildings, almost makes us feel like we're on our own little island, which I guess we are. Now let's head to an actual location. And as we wind our way up this hill, we get to the Cliff's Edge Motel, which I think abandoned hotels are really spooky. Much like an abandoned hospital or school, just a place that should be full of people, being completely empty, is pretty freaky. Now let's head inside. And I think what works so well here is just how liminal these locations are. It would probably be more liminal if it wasn't as decayed, but either way, I think the effect is still there. The first time I explored this location was around the time I watched the music video to The Kill by 30 Seconds to Mars, and that music video is themed after The Shining. So I was wandering around this building thinking of that, not actually thinking about The Shining. At that point, I hadn't seen it yet. And of course, I highly recommend watching The Shining. Now, the interesting thing about this location is there is one working elevator, which we can take. And going down the hall, we can turn and see a vault, which of course you could see the entrance to in the parking lot of this hotel. Now this vault is in excellent condition, but it's full of robots, and one's just been taken out. And most of the residents are robo-brains, which in and of themselves are pretty creepy. They're still living, just in a different body, and they can live for a pretty long time. But the fact that one took out another is pretty insane. So yeah, this location's pretty freaky too. We come here to try to figure out who took that robo-brain out. This place is really nice, like I said, but really unsettling. Still makes it a really cool vault. We can see another one of those big statues here. Looks like she's holding 2 burgers. I wish I was holding 2 burgers. But yeah, this vault's a really interesting location. If you've never come here to do this quest, you definitely should. One of the better parts about Far Harbor. And with that, we can go ahead and head to our final location. Now, our last location is just through this void outside of Nuka World. And no, it's not the Hubologist camp. But there are definitely freaks there. It's perfect timing with it starting to rain now. I thought that was lava. And here we are, the Grandchester Mystery Mansion. And heading inside,
the Grandchester Mystery Mansion begins with Morticia.
Now of course this is kind of a generic haunted house attraction, but not everything in here is fake. There's plenty of booby traps. Some of the pictures here are kind of creepy. There are some robots in here, which is kind of standard, like right here. The story here is kind of spooky, but it's only because it's an attraction. Of course none of the story is real in-game. And we can find the guy who set up all the traps here, a gunner boss named Zachariah. Well, the attic is actually locked with a master lock, and I didn't realize that. So I'm going to go level up a couple times and I'll be right back. Alright, there we go. And we're back and we can open this door. And turning, we can head upstairs. And we see a girl run by and disappear. Opening the door. There's nothing at all. So we just saw a ghost. You actually see her when you first enter the mansion, but my game loaded really slowly and we missed that. So not only is this an old haunted house attraction, but it's actually haunted as well, making this one of the creepiest places in Fallout 4. And that will pretty much wrap up the video for me. Those are some of the freakiest places in Fallout 4, and I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope to see you around for the next one. Bye now.